round of applause for these amazing group of people that are here standing behind me today. My name's Edward Cott, and I'm an organizer with the People's Defense Initiative, a member of the Green Party of Pima County, and a proud volunteer of the Tucson Families Freeing Together Initiative. As a longtime immigrants' rights activist here in the city of Tucson, I would like to start off today by reminding all of us here that the violation of immigration laws are civil infractions. They're not criminal. Undocumented immigrants are not criminal. And this is one of the most important imperatives of the immigrants' rights movement. The immigration crisis that continues to entangle U.S. politics is a political crisis that has turned into a humanitarian crisis. And this humanitarian crisis of mass migration, we cannot forget, is in a major way a direct result of U.S. foreign policy. I'm gonna give you a couple examples. Unjust free trade agreements that devastate Latin American policies or economies. A war on drugs that justify wars and causes poverty and mass displacement. Military interventions and support for right-wing governments that foster corruption and impunity. These conditions are at the root causes of mass migration. And it is due to this reality that over the last 2.5 decades, millions of Latin American men, women, and children have been escaping violence and poverty and have been making their way up north in search of jobs, families, and refuge. And how has our government responded to this mass migration of people? Well, with border militarization, with programs and policies for criminalization and incarceration, with expansion of private prisons, human rights violations, and mass deportation. Here in Tucson, our community has felt firsthand the devastating consequences of these anti-immigrant federal policies and the fear and mistrust they create. Given the complicity of our state government, we began asking ourselves, at the city level, how can we protect our families and how can we ensure justice and equality in our communities? Historically, the immigrants' rights movement here in Tucson has been at the forefront of this struggle. Tucson led the National Sanctuary movement in the 1980s, like it was just mentioned by the compañera, to protect refugees from Central America. Since 2008, here in Tucson, we have been organizing tirelessly to bring attention and to demand the termination of Operation Streamline, a federal program that prosecutes immigrants in mass without due process and without due representation, all for the profits of private prisons. In 2010, we poured onto the streets in the thousands when the state legislature decided to approve a racist and unjust law like SB 1070, a law which continues to harm our community today. In 2012, we protested N1, prohibiting school resource officers from questioning the immigration status of students in schools. Since then, we have organized a community rapid response group in order to combat local law enforcement and border patrol collaboration and to ensure people's rights are respected when they are pulled over for a simple traffic infraction and justly transferred over to immigration enforcement. Since 2017, we have felt the catastrophic consequences of the zero tolerance policy. In 2018, we fought hard and won, convincing the County Board of Supervisors to reject the federal Stone Garden grant, which is a federal grant that gives millions of dollars, or that gave millions of dollars to our Pima Sheriff Department for immigration enforcement. Likewise, we educated the public on the crisis of family separation and the concerning conditions of children detention centers here in our very own city. Most important, the Tucson Immigrants' Rights Movement has been dedicated in heart and spirit in demanding justice for Border Patrol victims and in providing and defending the right to provide humanitarian aid to immigrants that are dying every day in our Sonoran desert. And I share this history with you all today because the development of these events paint a very important picture. A picture of difficulties, yes, but also a picture of hope and resistance. And in many different forms, it is the Tucson Families Freeing Together Initiative that begins to give shape to that hope and the political direction for that struggle. The Tucson Families Freeing Together Initiative was born out of love, the need for social justice, and a determined collective people's will. The brilliant and powerful exercise of direct democracy will unquestionably make our city safer and more inclusive. The Tucson Families Freeing Together Initiative will, among many other things, expand civil liberties, prohibit many forms of discrimination that are still in practice today. It will provide special protection for women and children, victims of crimes. It would also protect public spaces, like it's already been said, hospitals, churches. It would also help undocumented immigrants with the process of applying for certain legal relief and visas. Furthermore, the initiative will prevent family separation in many forms and promote public safety over unnecessary immigration enforcement. The Tucson Families Free and Together initiative will also procure transparency and accountability from our local agencies. It is a fact, this initiative is filled with nothing but progressive provisions. The Tucson Families Free and Together initiative was made a reality by everyday working people, and you're seeing them all here today. Mothers, teachers, lawyers, students, activists, organizers, union members, faith leaders, and volunteers. Everyone united in the fight for social justice and equality. Because it is only with the power of the people that we will make history today. And the Tucson Families Free and Together initiative will not only be the first sanctuary city in the state of Arizona, but the very first citizen-led ballot initiative for sanctuary in the nation. So, thank you. So Tucson, let's make history together. And remember, come November, vote for Sanctuary City. And yes, we can. And I want to hear